Good morning. Well, we have a little song today that everybody's heard, and I want to invite you to join me to sing in any word you know, or just one word, or all of it. And I'm going to make it available for you to sing, whatever you do know. I see trees green, red roses too. I watch them bloom for me and for you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, bright blessed day, dark sacred night. Everybody. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends holding, shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. It is out there, isn't it lovely out there? Marvelous world. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, it's a wonderful world. Well, I think to myself, what a wonderful, everybody, world. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim Turner. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the South Fork. As Unitarian Universalists, we affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every being. We honor our interdependence with all life on this planet and the earth itself, a principle we will further explore today. We honor each person's search for truth and meaning, and we encourage peace, compassion, equity, and justice for all. Our 7 principles, soon to be 8, can be found on the back of your order of service. Our 8th principle is being discussed at the UUAGA General Assembly, which will be to affirm and promote diversity by dismantling racism and other oppressions. We are committed to healing the pain of our past and our present. In our actions outside of these walls, we do things like Marines Haven, Flower Power, many other ways, the food pantry, the garden, and what we do for each other. Here in our worship together, the rituals we practice and the songs we sing elevate these commitments and bind us emotionally as a community. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your life's journey, whatever your name for the sacred, you are very welcome to bring your full self here. My name is Pamela Wittenberg, and I am your worship associate this morning. Our guest speaker is the Reverend Valerie Freseman, minister at the First Universalist Church of Southold on the North Fork. They are our neighbors. Reverend Freseman is a graduate of Union Theological Seminary, where she developed events connecting ecology, food justice, and earth traditions, such as embedding herself in the edible churchyard in New York City communities. Her passions and areas of expertise are in transformative worship, which we hope this one will be, meditation, earth-centered spirituality, and social and environmental justice. About time. We have you. Reverend Freseman's message this morning is entitled, A Story for Changing Course. Thank you for being here. After service in the hospitality room, John Andrews will have brochures on the Citizen Climate Lobby, an organization that empowers everyday people like you and me to work within our communities on climate change solutions. John is the leader of our local chapter of Citizens Climate Lobby here at UUCSF. Our musician today is Jim Turner, an award-winning local performer and instructor from Sag Harbor, who recently was featured on Dan Talks this year. Jim has produced the albums Ocean People, Hampton Bound, and The Time Blues Went Away, and is working on an album of songs by Woody Guthrie. Check out his music at jimturnermusic.com. The tech hosts today are Carl Wittenberg and Monica Sazada. Can everyone hear me? Good, because we have hearing-assisted devices, but you all look good. Our president, Martha Potter, has an announcement to make.
Hi, everybody. I'm Martha Potter, if you didn't know. I make an announcement, or somebody on the board announces on the first Sunday of every month, so you get to know the board members. This Sunday, the board has decided on something new. The first Sunday of every month, we're going to do something called Share the Plate, which means that half of our collection is going to go to some UU organization that's working to better the country. And today it actually works with climate change. I didn't even think about that, but we're going to share the plate with the UU Disaster Relief Fund. And what that is doing is it's giving money to Florida after Hurricane Ian, all the destruction. It gives money to people in California that have been affected by the rains. And each UU congregation in that area uses the money for best use in that area to help people. Actually, it also fits with the ACE principle, because the people who are most affected by these climate disasters are the people that live in poor areas. So I hope you give generously. I was hoping for a great big audience today, but we're not. We're a small audience. So take out your wallets and give generously, and half of that will go to the UU disaster. The other thing I have to announce is that July 11th is our annual meeting. We need all members and friends to come to this annual meeting.
Martha, June 11th.
Did I say July? I'm sorry. Thank you, John. Keep me on task. June 11th is our annual meeting. If you want to come July 11th, come too, but June 11th. And we need all members and friends to come. There'll be a vote on that only members can vote. But there will also be some major discussions about our congregation, and I'd like everybody to be there to join in those discussions. The other thing you might have noticed today is that there was no greeter. we're having trouble getting volunteers. And so I usually fill in, but I kind of wanted to leave it empty today just as people to see. And please tell your friends, tell everybody. It's really fun to be a greeter. It's fun to do hospitality. We need people to help us with that. And the board is coming to the end of its first year with under me, I guess, my first presidency. And we'd love to hear from people in the congregation ideas on directions you'd like us to go next year. We don't want to just make it a board decision on everything. Please see me or Ingrid's here, she's on the board. Please see anybody on the board who, if you have an idea, for anything about our congregation. So thank you and have a good service.
Thank you, Martha. After service today, we are having our second garden and cleanup day, starting at noon. Please join us. We'll have some food. Keep us going. Are there any other announcements? Okay. You can find more information in your e-bulletin and on the events calendar on our website. You can get your announcements to Kelly, our administrator, by Tuesday of the week you would like them announced. I don't see new faces. Anyone on Zoom? If you'd like to introduce yourself on Zoom, you can sign our virtual guest book using the link in our chat. And someone from our Care and Connection team will be in touch with you. Okay. For our opening chalice, I will light it. The theme for this new month is reconciliation, and we'll open this service with some words by Lynn Cox entitled, "The Courage to Continue on the Journey." Spirit of life and love, known by many names and yet fully known by none. We give thanks for this time and this place of renewal. We give thanks for the ability to begin again. Grant us the courage to continue on the journey, the courage to speak up for the well-being of others, ourselves, and our planet. May our hearts open to embrace humility, grace, and reconciliation. Let us cultivate together the strength to be on the journey. Please rise as you feel willing and able for the next hymn, number 346, "Come Sing a Song with Me."
Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me, that I might know you're mine. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me, that I might know you're mine. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me, that I might know you're mine. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose
Our first message is a book by D.B. Johnson, Henry Hikes to Fitchburg. And we were going to have Anjali and Zianya read the book, but Anjali's family fell ill. They have a cough. And so I will read it. Henry Hikes to Fitchburg. It's about Henry Thoreau and Emerson. One summer day, Henry and his friend decided to go to Fitchburg to see the country. "I'll walk," said Henry. "It's the fastest way to travel." "I'll work," Henry's friend said, "until I have the money to buy a ticket to ride the train to Fitchburg. We'll see who gets there first." So keep in mind, who's going to get there first? His friend waved. "Enjoy your walk," he said. Henry walked down the road to Fitchburg. "Enjoy your work," he called back. Henry's friend filled the wood box in Mrs. Alcott's kitchen, 10 cents. Henry hopped from rock to rock across the Sudbury River. His friend swept out the post office, 5 cents. Henry carved a walking stick, 25 miles to Fitchburg. Henry's friend pulled all the weeds in Mrs. Hawthorne's garden, 15 cents. Henry put ferns and flowers in a book and pressed them. His friend painted the fence in front of the courthouse, 10 cents. Henry walked on stone walls. Henry's friend moved the bookcases in Mr. Emerson's study, 15 cents. Henry climbed a tree, 18 miles to Fitchburg. He sees all these birds in the distance. His friend carried water to the cows grazing on the grass in town, 5 cents. Henry made a raft and paddled up the Nashua River. Henry's friend cleaned out Mrs. Thoreau's chicken house, 10 cents. Henry crossed a swamp and found a bird's nest in the grass, 12 miles to Fitchburg. His friend carried flour to the mill to the village baker, 20 cents. Henry found a honey tree. Henry's friend ran to the train station to buy his ticket to Fitchburg, 90 cents. Henry jumped into a pond, 7 miles to Fitchburg. His friend sat on the train in a tangle of people. Henry ate his way through a blackberry patch. Henry's friend got off the train at Fitchburg Station just as the sun was setting. Henry took a shortcut, 1 mile to Fitchburg. His friend was sitting in the moonlight when Henry arrived. "The train was faster," he said. Henry took a small pail from his pack. "I know," he smiled. "I stopped for blackberries." And he's sharing. So the thought of the day is, how is each of them going home? May your roots grow deep. May your branches spread far. May you find the world to be a wonderful place and leave it better for those who follow. We support the work of this congregation through the gift of our time, our talents, and our treasure. Your financial contributions help to support the ongoing work of this congregation, including worship, religious exploration, and community care and connection. We will pass. To contribute, you can use the baskets that will circulate shortly. You can also use the link in the chat online or scan the QR code in your order of service. And while we pass that, Jim Turner will play a song called Paradise by John Prine.
Yeah, when I was a child, my family would travel to western Kentucky, where my parents were born. In a backward old town is often remembered, so many times that my memories are worn. And Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? No, I'm sorry, my son, you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. Yeah, now sometimes we travel right down the Green River to the abandoned old coal mine down by Adra Hill, where the air smelled like snakes. We shoot with our pistols, but empty pop bottles was all we would kill. Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? No, I'm sorry, my son, you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. Then the coal company came with the world's largest shovel. They tortured the timber and they forsook the land. They dug for their coal till the land was forsaken, and they wrote it all down as the progress of man. Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? No, I'm sorry, my son, you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. When I die, let my ashes flow down the Green River. Let my soul flow on up to the Rochester Dam. I'll be halfway to heaven with paradise waiting, just 5 miles away from wherever I am. And Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? No, I'm sorry, my son, you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Pam.
We are entering a time of joys and concerns, a prayerful moment when we set aside the mundane as we share the deep joys, concerns, sorrows of our hearts. In the meeting house, please come to the microphone. If you're joining online, please let us know by raising your hand or indicating in the chat, and our host will unmute you. And now the Reverend Freseman.
Would join me in a spirit of prayer and reflection. Hear me, 4 quarters of the world, a relative I am. Give me the strength to walk the soft earth. Give me the eyes to see and the strength to understand. Look upon these faces of children without number. that they may face the winds and walk the good road until the day of quiet. This is my prayer. Hear me. If you could join me and rise in body or in spirit and sing our number 21, For the Beauty of the Earth.
For the Zoomers. For the beauty of the earth, for the splendor of the skies, for the love which from our birth over and around us flies. Source of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of hear and guide, for the heart and mind's delight, for the mystic harmony, linking sense to sound and sight. Source of all, to thee we praise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the wonder of each hour, of the day and of the night, hill and vale and tree and flower, sun and moon and stars of light. Source of all, to thee we praise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of human care, sister, brother, parent, child, for the kinship we all share, for our gentle thoughts and mild. Source of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise.
Nearly every day, I do what millions of others do. I reach for my news sources and I learn of yet another depressing story about our Earth. Toxic petrochemical plants which are located near families. Floods, fires, and explosions. Thwarted plans for wind farms. These are the stories that could lead us to despair. Sometimes there is a little hope. A gathering in Copenhagen to formulate a new plan for reducing carbon emissions. Promises made so that the level of change will not be as drastic. Every day a new story, a new reporting of how well or how poorly we are doing globally and locally to stop the destruction of our own habitat. Of course, it is important to be informed, to pick the battles that make the most sense, to agitate for change and to arm ourselves with whatever resources are at our disposal. Yet, in addition to the newspaper stories, the factual stories, we need another kind of story. We need a story for changing course. Whenever environmental change is documented in history, Whenever people have tried to make sense of the monumental, the devastating, the mysterious, and the traumatic, then they have relied on the storytellers. After 7 days, a formless void of water was transformed into a world teeming with life. A frost giant lay sleeping on his side until a flame melted part of him and created the first humans. Or Obatala, who shaped humans wholly out of clay. Each culture has a story for a beginning, but also for a dramatic change. Noah gathering the animals, except for the unicorn, we're told. The world was almost destroyed by Demeter's grief over the loss of her daughter. The Zoroastrian Ahriman nearly bringing on a drought, but stopped only by the soldier god Mithra. These stories became lodged in the memory as explanations for things so traumatic that they defied explanation. So in that case, where better to get answers to the unanswerable than by going to the source of creativity, that place deep inside humanity where our imagination resides. We have science to help us find new questions and assemble truth out of facts. But stories passed down from one generation to the next teach us what we value. Each generation adds layer upon layer of meaning and shapes its own legacy. For through myth, we might gain a glimpse into how we survived in the past and how we might survive in the future. So right now, we are writing a new story, a story for changing course. It has been said that the primary curse of humanity is our endless capacity for novelty, for new things. By this, it is meant that human beings are capable of adapting and multiplying their adaptations at a rate that far exceeds the rate of the environment to withstand them. When we finally get to the point at which the environment ceases to support our continued growth, a tipping point is reached. And many have begun to theorize that we need a new term to describe this tipping point, the epoch in which one species has the dominant role in determining the survivability of the entire planet. Some have begun to call this new geological age the Anthropocene, an age of course changing and adaptation unlike any other. For all the similarities literary analysis and anthropologists might find in the myths of the world, a mythology is still one culture's attempt to understand their world, their tribe, their location. For example, many cultures name their local landscape after the gods and goddesses they come to know in their imagination, such as the Boyne River in Ireland and the Danube in Germany, both thought to be named after mother goddesses. Yet now we are not faced with something hyper-local, but global. We can no longer assume ignorance of what is happening around the world as a result of our actions. We need a myth that reminds us of our interdependence, one that inspires us to take action for all of us, not just for some of us. Joseph Campbell popularized a particular kind of myth cycle, the hero's journey, finding it in everything from modern movies to ancient Sumerian myth. In that journey, A lone, reluctant hero is lured out of his comfort zone, given some supernatural aid or advice, and sent on a quest to subdue a major threat to the world, aka Luke Skywalker. Author Sharon Blackie points out, however, that the hero's journey fundamentally is one of individual progress and power. She offers a counter or complementary narrative called the heroine's journey, which uses a different framework. She writes that the heroine's journey is about recovering the sense of imagination, of creativity, of spontaneity, of connection. It's about acknowledging the energies that have been suppressed in the culture and not feeling that we have to make the hero's journey in order to succeed. It's very much an imaginative, creative journey about reclaiming the connection we once had with the land and with its other than human inhabitants, and discovering how our own individual psyche is woven into the soul of the world. In the Hebrew scriptures, we are given glimpses of a woman, the valiant woman, whose price is above rubies, who is an ecofeminist who preserves life in the middle of a harsh climate during a harsh time and keeps the household going. But in the end, no one gender or gender expression owns the traits necessary for survival. They're qualities found in each of us. It's only when one path is emphasized over another that our perspective becomes skewed. For the idea of relentless individual progress, of always slaying the dragon, leads us to one view of the world's natural resources. When we frame a story for changing course, we need to reclaim both sides of the coin. We need to cast off the idea of progress as more, and think of progress in relationship to environment as better, finding better ways to be in alignment. We need to be heroic and uncompromising, but we also need to start creating together those communities of imagination, creativity, and hope, where we fix things at the repair cafe instead of letting them end up in landfills, where we grow as much as possible of our own food locally instead of using immense amounts of fossil fuels to get the food to us. Thankfully, we have not lost sight of our mythic imagination completely. For many of us, the work of the storytellers like the Irish Shanachie or the African griot has been supplanted by stories we stream from Netflix. Black Panther and the Marvel Universe, larger-than-life heroes coming together across the comic book mythologies to solve all our existential threats. But as fun as these movies may be, we don't need a movie studio budget to get our message across. We need the power of our own stories. Listen to someone who has been affected by environmental racism or the destruction of their home via a fast-moving forest fire, and you will have some powerful stories for encapsulating what the stakes are when we don't move fast enough to put mitigation and adaptation into motion, when we don't adjust to our planet instead of insisting that the planet adjust to us. The more we can share these stories, the greater impact we have. But we must also face the fact that not all of us will face the effects of climate change the same way. Sometimes our wealth, class, and race protects us from the worst of it, even as we agitate for change. That is why all the alliances we make must be conscious of the impact that climate change and pollution have on the marginalized. We must confront the powerful with a truth that is shaped by more than one experience and that centers particular experiences. Children in Florida and Montana are suing their state governments for denying them their right to a healthy environment. According to Euronews, the US got a record 40% of its energy from carbon-free resources last year. So the news is not all bad, not all discouraging. When we rise up and work not just as storytellers, but also as prophets, we can bring human beings back into awareness of their role. We are part of the family of Earth, part of a living, breathing planet on which we must tread lightly. Whatever we do, on an individual, local, or international path, there is no doubt that the story for changing course will be an epic one. The story will be told by scientists and protesters, policy writers and children, poets and dreamers, and musicians. If you wish to make a change, if you want to make sure your story is heard loud and clear or unfurled like banners from the rooftops, if you wish to make sure that change is real and lasting, ongoing and relentless, then all you need to do is find your part in the story that is now being written. Blessed be. Amen. Ashe and Shalom. Will you join with me and sing our hymn number 203, All Creatures of the Earth and Sky?
All creatures of the earth and sky, come, kindred, lift your voices high. Alleluia, alleluia, bright burning sun with golden beam, soft shining moon with silver gleam. Alleluia, 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 alleluia. Swift rushing winds so wild and strong, white clouds that sail in heaven along. Alleluia, alleluia, fair rising morning, praise rejoice. High stars of evening find a voice. Alleluia, 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 alleluia. Cool flowing water, pure and clear, make music for all life to hear. Alleluia, alleluia, dance flame of fire so strong and bright, and bless us with your warmth and light. Alleluia, 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 alleluia.
Closing this morning is The Charge of the Goddess, which was actually originally collected by a folklorist in Italy, but adapted for the Earth-centered community over time. I, who am the beauty of the green earth and the white moon among the stars and the mystery of the waters, I call upon your soul to arise and come unto me. For I am the soul of nature that gives life to the universe. From me all things proceed, and unto me they must return. So let my worship be in the heart that rejoices, for behold, all acts of love and pleasure are my rituals. Let there be beauty and strength, power and compassion, honor and humility, mirth and reverence within you. And thou who seekest to know me, know that your seeking and yearning will avail you not, unless you know the mystery. For if that which you seek, you find not within yourself, you will never find it without. For behold, I have been with you from the beginning, and I am that which is attained at the end of desire.
If you are joining us on Zoom, oh, thank you, Reverend Freseman. It's wonderful. If you are joining us on Zoom, this room will remain open for a few minutes after our service concludes for informal conversation. If you're joining us in the meeting house, we invite you for light refreshments, a couple cookies and coffee before we begin our cleanup. I'd like to thank today's hospitality. Thank you, Mark, for jumping in to make coffee. Thank you, Martha, for jumping in to do the greeting. We'll hope you join us next week, Mother's Day. Our worship leader will be John Andrews, a long-standing member of this congregation, who will be presenting the mystic chords of memory. We hope to see you here. If you are in agreement with our values, our mission, and our UU principles, we hope you find a home here. Let us extinguish this flame together, and then we will listen to Jim Turner with Will You Go, Lassie, Go. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth.
Go, right. Oh, the summer sun is shining, and the leaves have all turned green, and the wild mountain thyme grows along the purple heather. Won't you go, lassie, go? Won't you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pluck wild mountain thyme all around the purple heather. Won't you go, lassie, go? It's an old Scottish song. You get the refrain, you start to learn it, join me. You know, it's recorded by the Byrds and a lot of other people. I learned it from a great friend of mine. We sang it in a car. We'd sing it for hours at a time. I will build my love a bower in yon clear crystal fountain, and upon it I will place all the flowers of the mountain. Won't you go, lassie, go? Won't you go, lassie, go? Won't you go, lassie? And we'll all go together. And we'll all go together to pick wild mountain thyme on around the purple heather. Won't you go, lassie, go? Hey, can I play harmonica on this song? if you won't go with me, then I'll surely find another to pluck wild the mountain thyme all around the purple heather. Won't you go, lassie, go? All right, everybody. I won't you go, lassie, go, and we'll all go together to pluck wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Won't you go, lassie, go? Won't you go, lassie, go? Yeah, we'll all go together, howdy mate, to pick wild mountain thyme. Little clapping on this now, around the blooming heather. I'll play one more harp solo on this, mate. You better turn me out this way. I won't you go, lassie, go, and we'll all go together to pluck wild mountain thyme all around the purple heather. I won't you go, lassie, go. I got a little switch on the end. God bless you, everybody. And thanks for the Reverend Pam. Thanks for having me here.